Hello there guys, and welcome to another Safari Ltd My Thoughts on video. This is because the new Safari Ltd figures have now all been revealed and we now know what they all are going to be. This video I'm just going to be covering the prehistoric line, as I tend to find, or at least in my experience, there's like the prehistoric animals and the rest of them are like separate from the prehistoric animals, at the very least for a lot of people watching this video. So this one will just cover the prehistoric ones. And first off, we're going to start off with something that I don't even consider like a new release. It's the new Tyrannosaurus Rex repaint of their really old, really bad T-Rex. I really don't like the fact that they've repainted it. Now, granted, this is the best painted version of this figure yet, in my opinion. But it's just like, why? Like, why did they do this? I don't understand why they decided to repaint this figure that is sculpted really, really bad. I mean, it's not a good figure by any means or stretch of the imagination, in my opinion. So, I don't understand why this exists. In fact, I remember because some of these figures were leaked a little bit early. I remember seeing a picture of like some of them in a row, and this guy was on here, and I didn't even realize that it was a new figure. I thought it was one of their old T-Rexes because it wasn't even on my mind that this would be something that Safari would even be considering. This is just... I don't like the fact that they've redone this T-Rex, because this T-Rex it's not very good, in my personal opinion. But next up, we're going to do a figure I am very excited for, and that is the Stegosaurus. Now, the Stegosaurus looks really, really good. I love the paint job. I love how it's got like a yellow kind of undersidey area, and the plate coloration. I love the plate coloration with like the blacks on it, and how it's got like this counter shading thing going on. I love this Stegosaurus's paint job. I love the pose as well. We don't really get any good shots of the pose other than like the very frontal image where you see it coming at you from the front. I do think that is the best image of it. And I know one thing that a lot of people have been saying is the fact that this thing has no detail on it. But that's not true at all, because when you zoom in with the Safari's fancy little zooming thing, it 100% has scales on it. It's covered in scales. The scales are just so incredibly fine and minuscule. I think these are the smallest scales they've done yet. And I'm just like, oh my freaking gosh. I didn't even realize it had scales that are so tiny. That, my friends, is incredible. That's amazing detailing that they have pulled off on this Stegosaurus. Like the effort into these teeny tiny little scales, and that is astounding to me. The fact that this thing has scales on it. And also another thing is they included the well-armored throat too. It has a very well-armored throat. It's got very big scales on it, which is also accurate. This figure overall is just really, truly, really good. It's an updated Stegosaurus, of course. It looks how we now believe the animal actually looked, which I do think is important, because I think that study came out in 2015, revising the way Stegosaurus looked, though I cannot really remember. All I know is that the animal has been revised. And I'm actually really, really excited for this, because I was actually going to say I wanted a new Stegosaurus for my What I Want for 2020 video, but I don't need to do that anymore because Safari granted my wish early, and that is amazing. I love this figure. The price it's pretty spendy for such a little thing. Though, like Kiki said in his video, I think that might be because of the plates. Maybe in order to do the plates, you know, it needs to be expensive. They need to have some kind of expensive thing going on. I don't know. I don't really care though, because this figure is well worth the money to me. I think it's definitely something I am going to pick up without a doubt. And then we have another figure that I am immensely excited for, their new 2019 Pteranodon. Oh my gosh, guys, this figure fills a hole in my heart that I did not realize was there. It's amazing. I absolutely love this guy. I love how it's got like seabird coloration on it for most of the body, but then on the head it's got like almost these toucan-y type colors, like these very warm sunsetty colors, and I love that. It looks so good. This is my, of the 4 that they've released so far, this one's my favorite. The detailing's amazing. I love that's in a quadrupedal pose instead of a flying pose, as I actually don't think Safari's done a pterosaur in a quadrupedal pose before, and I think that's, you know, something that they kind of needed. We needed a Pteranodon in general, because we haven't had a Pteranodon figure in a long time. Now, that does not mean, however, that because it's my favorite, that is not having quite a somewhat-ish amount of accuracy issues. First off, the bill, I think the bill might be a tad bit too short, and also the fact that it definitely is nowhere near curved up enough. Pteranodon bills, you know, kind of did this curving upward type thing. That's not represented on this figure at all, and that really kind of bugs me. That's the thing that bugs me most about it. As well as the 2 bills are too equal in length. The top bill should definitely be longer. Well, it already is longer than the bottom bill in this figure, but it should be even longer than the bottom bill than it already is. That kind of bugs me as well. I think the eye might be a tad bit kind of forward in the skull. I think it needs to be a little farther back. It also has this sprawling thing going on with its front arms, but I mean, I'm kind of okay with that because it's a Pteranodon, and though that's definitely not proven, and I definitely wouldn't have given it a sprawling pose with the front limbs, it's fine, because like I said, it's a Pteranodon, and it maybe walk like this, but I don't really know. Also, of course, the hand, the fingers, the 3 fingers that are on the ground are also way too big. They're like as darked things going on here. They should be about half that size. But I think it'd be really hard to sculpt accurately sized Pteranodon fingers. So I'm going to give them a pass on that. But other than that, it looks pretty good. It's covered in pignofibers, you know, of course, as it should be. The wing membrane looks really good. It's got 4 toes on the back foot, and it's completely plantigrade, which is also really good. And the membranes on the leg do not connect to the tail. Well, they connect to the base of the tail, but they do not connect to the tail itself, which is so good to see, because so often you will see it connect to the tail when it should not connect to the tail on any pterosaur. So yeah, my overall thoughts on it is it looks amazing. I absolutely love the way it looks. That's phenomenal about it. But it does have a somewhat-ish, decent-ish amount of accuracy issues. So the only one that really bugs me is the bill. I do think the bill, it needs to be fixed. Next up, we have their Allosaurus, and oh my gosh, I'm so hyped that we got an Allosaurus, because as anyone knows, we haven't got an Allosaurus in a while. It's the same thing with Pteranodon, and I'm very happy that we finally received a new one. I love the color scheme on this guy. I think the green and the white works really well. I really do love that. Safari, I think, pulls off white on their dinosaurs very good. The pose is absolutely freaking amazing. I love the pose. I am sort of ish wondering if this thing will actually be able to stand, because it does seem like it's kind of leaning forward quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see the stability of this figure. The only thing that bugs me about this figure, though, is the head sculpt. That it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look exactly like an Allosaurus head. It's close enough that you can tell definitely like that's what it's going to be, but it's something off about it. I think it's a bit too stout, a bit too short. I think it needs to be a tad bit longer. But other than that, this figure looks really good to me. There's nothing else that is immediately really off about it. I think that's another, you know, another really great figure release, and I also cannot wait to pick this one up as well. And then we have our last release, the Spinosaurus. And personally, I wouldn't say I love this figure, but I also wouldn't say I hate it. I think I'm kind of in between. And the reason why is for several reasons. First off, the paint scheme is a tad bit bland. It's not awful by any means though. I think it is a lot better than the color scheme on some of Safari's older figures, such as the Pseudoceratops. I think this guy's definitely better than the Pseudoceratops color scheme. But I would wish that there was maybe some color on the sail a little bit more, you know, to kind of make the sail stand out a little bit. And then the size of the scales also bugged me a little bit at first, but then I was reminded of the fact that we don't have skin impressions from Spinosaurus yet, and I think Triceratops did show that dinosaurs can have very, very large scales on their bodies, so sure, I'll give them a pass on that. I would have wished for smaller scales, but they don't bug me as much as they were when I was originally seeing this figure. My only two complaints about this guy are the legs and how crocodilian it looks. So let's get into those. First off is the legs, which of course brings us into the pose. It's in a swimming pose, which I'm completely fine with. I am not at all opposed to depicting animals in these really unique kind of poses. I actually think that things like the Collecta Metallosaurus that's drinking and the Collecta Daspletosaurus that's sitting down, I think those kind of figures, we need more of those, because I really do like figures in these kind of specific poses. I'm not saying that most of the figures we're getting should be like this, but I do think that there should be more of them made than we are getting. So I'm not opposed to swimming pose at all. The issue with it though is it doesn't look like it's swimming. It looks like it's like doing yoga or something like that. It's really weird with the back legs. It's just, I don't understand why they chose to do the back legs the way in which they did. Like, the thigh region is like only pointing straight down, and then it just kind of bends at the knee. It's just, it looks weird. It really does look weird. It does not look like this animal is swimming at all. I don't know what it's doing, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's really, really weird. And then the other thing that really bugs me about this figure is just how crocodilian it is. Now, when Collecta did a fairly crocodilian Spinosaurus, it was like, oh, okay, I mean, that's kind of cool. But I really doubted that Spinosaurus would ever look like that. This guy just kind of takes crocodilian to like a whole new level. Not only is it very crocodilian in design, but it's even got like exact crocodilian scoots along its back. It's got a very crocodilian-esque color scheme. And of course, it has that stupid crocodilian tail. Giving a Spinosaurus a crocodilian tail, even when Collecta did it, I wasn't super okay with it, because I highly doubt Spinosaurus convergently evolved that much. I mean, doing it again from not only Safari but also Schleich. Schleich has made it have a fairly-ish crocodilian tail. Not as crocodilian as the Collecta and the Safari one, but still has that. That drives me crazy and insane, because I'm just like, I don't think it would have had that. And I don't know. As you can tell, I have mixed feelings about this figure. I don't think it's terrible, but I also don't think it's amazing. And I definitely do not think that lives up to the expectations that we were expecting from a Spinosaurus toy. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video on the new Safari Ltd prehistoric animals. As we can see here on the screen, we have all the new ones. We're getting 10 new figures this year, though I guess technically you could say 11 if you counted that new repaint, but I personally am not counting it. I'm saying that we got 10 new figures, and I think this is a pretty decent year. I think it's definitely on par with 2018. Do I think it was as good as 2017? No, I do not think that this line is as good as their 2017 line, but I do think that this line is not terrible. Overall, the Styraco, Chimera, Woolly Rhino, Prestosuchus, and Tyrannon all get 9 out of 10. The Psittapati, Stegosaurus, and Allo get an 8 out of 10. And the Carno and the Spinosaurus get a 6 out of 10 from me. I do think that those are pretty decent scores. You know, there are areas that I think Safari could improve on, but I mean, there's always things that Safari could improve on. You know, I mean, they didn't make a perfect lineup last year either by any means. So, you know, I think for what we got, I'm happy with it personally. I think that we got, you know, a bunch of really good figures, and, you know, one or two that's kind of a bit more iffy on, but, you know, I think that's fine. I think that's natural. 6 out of 10s and lower score meh type figures are gonna happen. But as long as most of the line is really good, I think that's what matters, and I think that's what we're getting from this year. I think most of the line is really, really good. That's just my thoughts on it personally. That's it for this video. I will soon be making another video covering the rest of the Safari 2019 releases that aren't their Prehistoric World things. And I will see you in the next video. Dino Man, out.